All right, guys, welcome back to Meet the Candidate. And today's candidate is James Factor. He is running for the National Council Kowetv District Seat B. Mr. Factor, thank you so much for joining us today.
This case, don't go. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to go ahead and give you a few minutes to tell us about yourself and why you're running for office.
James Factor, Kowetv Seat B. My family's from Wewoka. I was born in Wewoka. My family's from Cromwell. My grandparents are Jake Marshall and Nancy Marshall of Wewoka. Jake was the pastor there at Little Kowetv Baptist Church, and my grandmother Nancy was the women's leader. Her maiden name was Chupko. On my dad's side, Jimmy Factor. My mom, Diane Marshall, is her maiden name Factor. She is the president or the chairwoman of the Cromwell Indian community, has been for the past 6 years, and has served in some kind of capacity down there for 8 years total. My dad, Jimmy Factor, is the former assistant chief of the Seminole Nation. His father is Lewis Factor, and his mother was Mattie Lou Factor. Her maiden name was Bruner of Sasakwa. My tribal town is Tugabuchee. My ceremonial grounds are Greenleaf. And my church is Little Kowetv Baptist Church there in Cromwell. My parents still live in the same 2-bedroom house that me and my 3 brothers grew up in there in Cromwell. Went to school at Butner there, K through 12, graduated from there, went to Seminole Junior College, then on to Oklahoma State University, and finally graduating from St. Gregory's University with a bachelor's degree in business administration. And I'm running because I feel there's a need. I think I bring some knowledge in gaming and the 8A government contracting space that'll help enhance what the tribe does for its people.
All right. We've had some questions pop up in the chat, and I want to remind you guys, if you're watching this live, put your questions in the chat. We'll try to get them asked. I'm going to prioritize chat questions because those guys tuned in to ask the questions, and then once we get through the chat questions, I'll go to the email questions that have been sent in. So to start off with, T.Y. Prohl asks, would you support the nation building a family-friendly, non-casino hotel amusement entertainment center near Council Oak and Dreamkeepers Park, like Okana in Oklahoma City by the First Americans Museum?
I think the tribe could do a feasibility study on that and determine whether or not that's a good venture. But yeah, I would support it, especially if the feasibility comes back with good numbers.
Okay.
I would definitely support something like that.
All right. T.Y. Prohl asks, if property comes on the market that's abutting or adjacent to Council Oak or Dreamkeepers Park, do you support the nation pursuing purchasing it?
If the price is right, I mean, obviously we don't want to get ripped off on any land deal, but I know every time a tribe calls, everybody ups the price. Tribe or casino, the price substantially goes up. So if we could figure out a way to get that at the right price, I would support it, yes.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, would you support tribal allocations towards the creation of a fund for this purpose?
I think that would be taking place in the budget anyway, so I would say we'd address that in the budget.
Okay. David Ware asks or says, I'd like to hear more about your AI proposal in great detail.
Well, great detail. I know the tribe's already working on something, so I think data centers and I know there's an environmental component to that, and I think we'd have to approach it in the best way possible. It takes a lot of water, takes a lot of energy. We could use natural gas and solar power to help offset some of the energy drain. We could use reclaimed water and different cooling gels to help with the cooling. That not a perfect fix at all, but they're temporary fixes. I think the data center helps tie into data sovereignty, which we kind of have now with Governor Stitt going to the Supreme Court trying to undo our deal with Tulsa. So I think that ties into data sovereignty. That ties into our health information and our tag information that the Turnpike Authority tries to get. DOJ is trying to get all our information. We have executive orders out all the time changing rules that we don't know about. So I think data centers, AI will help us free up a lot of processes that our employees will benefit from. Not replacing any employee. I think it will create efficiencies that it gets our employees back out into the community doing work with the people where they should be.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl asks, are you familiar with the work of the Conservation District Wildlife Natural Resources and College of Mvskoke Nation Extension offices work on the res. How do you plan to support conservation on the res?
So I would go tie back into the data center. I would think we could earmark some of that revenue from the data center specifically for conservation and dealing with any impacts that the data center has on the citizens of that area.
All right. And guys, that's all the chat questions right now that I see. If you got a chat question, pop it in there and we'll ask it. I'm going to move on to some email questions and I'll keep monitoring that. The first on my list here is, has the election board or any other governmental body instructed you not to speak about the MCN Supreme Court's decision in the Friedman case?
No, down at the Okema Cromwell Forum, somebody had made mention of it, but it was just in passing, and they said that they would honor that, but that was the only mention I heard of anything. But no official person ever said anything to me about it.
Okay. What is your opinion on that decision?
I understand it initially, especially with the appeals, and especially with the people that were already in office, because if they said something wrong or misspoke, it could come back against them. So I kind of understood that initially.
Well, I mean, what is your opinion on the Supreme Court's Friedman decision? Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have three co-equal branches of government. They've made a decision. The appeal was denied, so now we have to figure out a way to move forward and incorporate everyone.
All righty. T.Y. Proles posted a question here in the chat. Would you? I'm gonna read it as it is, but some of the grammar here. Would you an agreement with the city of Tulsa to support solar power generation over the paved flood control infrastructure around the casino and the TIF district to help provide power to these projects?
I'm always a fan of clean energy, so solar, if it makes sense. Once again, the feasibility, if it's feasible, it makes sense, then yes.
All right. Let's see. Where are we at here? Do you think the blood quantum requirement for office or chartered community boards needs to be changed?
I would think so. I think it's going to have to get changed now with this decision, right? With the Friedman decision, I would say yes, it has to get changed.
Okie dokie. Let's see here. Have you reviewed the latest quarterly report? How familiar with it are you?
I've reviewed it. I'm fairly familiar with it. I can probably spit off a couple of facts for you if you need me to.
Okay. Do you know the amount currently held in the permanent fund, and would you support a movement to accumulate over $1 billion in the permanent fund before the end of the decade?
According to the quarterly report, I believe it was 625 million in there, and I think it jumped about 45 million interest rate. The interest and the stuff. I would probably have to figure it was about 10 to 12 million of that. So I think it would probably take another 3 or 4 years to get to there. So yeah, I would support that.
Okay. Are you familiar with the draft legislation by Senator Mullen that proposes to give the Cherokee Nation authority over the Cherokee Reservation, including gaming? What's your opinion on that situation with the Cherokee and the UKB?
Well, I think Mr. Mullen is Cherokee, if I remember correctly. So I
Yes,
think
sir.
him bringing that up against the UKB is kind of a conflict of interest. So I wouldn't support it just on that fact.
Okay. Are you a citizen of any federally recognized tribal town?
Tuckabutchie's my tribal town, so sir, I'm not.
Okay. Do you think dual enrollment in a federally recognized tribal town is a conflict of interest, maybe in a situation where the person is the chief or on a council of a tribal town and then also on our council?
I could see some issue with that, but ultimately they are Creek. It's a Creek tribal town, so, and I believe the lower court's already ruled that is allowable. It hasn't gone to the
Yes.
Supreme Court yet or anything, but
That's correct.
lower court already said yes, so I would have to go with the court's decision.
Okay. Are you familiar with the MCN Priority Climate Action Plan, and how will you work on the council if elected to enact the recommendations in the plan and facilitate meeting its goals?
I think that becomes even more important if we do move forward with the data center. So that would be something that we talked about earlier. I think some of the revenue from that could be earmarked specifically for that. And I would say I would push for that money to get earmarked for something like that.
Okay. What is your opinion on the district voting amendment on the ballot?
I can see both sides of it. I understand it. You should always be in your community, talking to your people. I think if it's nationwide, you should definitely reach out to the other communities. I know a lot of at-large people, and I know they like it. So still haven't made up my mind about it personally yet, but I see both sides of it. I understand both sides of it.
All right. We've had another question pop up in the chat here. Would you sponsor or support legislation to stay the implementation of the grace and order until the Ron Graham federal case is completely adjudicated and all appeals are exhausted in that federal case?
I think at this point, I'm not familiar with the other case that well. Do you have a little backstory on the other case?
Well, we can't go all into the, like a whole other legal case. If you're not familiar with it, you can tell him I'm not familiar, and then they'll kind of answer his question.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
I'm not 100% familiar with it, no, sir.
Okay. What is your opinion regarding the ongoing legal battle between the porch band and the MCN? If elected to council, will you vote to continue to fund the litigation?
Yes.
All right. What's your opinion on that situation?
I think anytime we move anything like that, or I don't like moving anything like that. I think we should keep everything the way it is in that regard.
Okay. Let's see here. Where am I at? Will you sponsor or support legislation putting constitutional amendments on the ballot to require term limits? And then another one is to require judges to stand for votes of retention by the people periodically during regular election cycles. So I guess, would you support legislation to have the people vote on constitutional amendments to require term limits?
Yes, I would. I think 2 to 3 terms as a council person is probably sufficient. And I think the judges can come up for review as well.
Okie dokie. So I want to remind you guys, if you have a question, pop it into the chat. And is there anything that I know we've asked a bunch of questions. We're moving fast here. Is there anything that's a key part of your campaign that we haven't talked about?
I think I could bring some help to MNB. I have 5 years of government contracting experience. I know some of the hurdles they face. There was an executive order that Trump signed. I'm trying to find the number to it now. It was Executive Order 14210, and it allowed the government. So the 8A government contracting space had X amount of employees. So the government executive order said 4. They had to knock out 4. For every 4 they knocked out, they could replace it with 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the hurdles that MNB has to face when they go out for contracting, is that all the people that they were talking to and all the relationships they had, most of those are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So now they got to find more efficient ways and better ways to make up that relationship loss, which could lead to business loss. So I think I could bring some knowledge to help fill that gap.
Okay. We had a question come up in one of the previous forums about a vote of non-confidence. A vote of no confidence on Attorney General Jerry Wisner. What's your opinion on that?
I think every cabinet appointment should be confirmed at some point. I don't think you should be able to just keep putting people up, and there should be an end to it at some point in time. So yes, I would support that.
Okie dokie. T.Y. Prohl has popped a question in here. Do you believe that the Indian Arts and Crafts Act is adequately enforced on the reservation? Should this be part of the law enforcement agreement with Tulsa?
I don't know how prevalent of a problem that is. So I would say until I get some more information on it, I would withhold judgment until I could find out how prevalent a problem it is.
All right. One of the things that also has happened recently was the Hauser embezzlement case that happened. Do you think that we have the proper oversight of the gaming board and the gaming employment and all those things? What's your take on that?
Well, I think there's a lot of fingers you could point at people. We have Office of Public Gaming, we have internal auditors, external auditors, management. Everybody, it happens. Unfortunately, it was a $25 million mistake over the course of, I think it was 8 years.
Yeah, 10 years, 10 around there.
So I believe the IRS is the one that caught it. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, better audit procedures, stricter purchase and procurement procedures. Apparently, another. I'm not sure what system. I'd have to find out more. I think they're investigating it now. I'd have to find out a little bit more information. I'm not sure which systems they're using for purchase and procurement. So I'll definitely say a review of that.
Okie dokie. TY Pearl's got some questions here. Do you support the Tulsa agreement that excludes Freedmen?
The Tulsa agreement that excludes freemen.
Yeah, he's talking about the jurisdictional agreement that the tribe has with Tulsa, and but it excludes the freedmen.
I think that would have to be reviewed because it's probably before the court decision. So I think now, because of the court decision, that would probably have to be reviewed again, would be
Okay.
my opinion.
Alrighty. What is your position on pretendians and wannabe tribes? That's a question from TY Pearl.
What are the wannabe tribes? I'm not sure who those.
Well, I think he's talking just from his previous comments and other stuff. I think he's talking about, like tribes that don't have federal recognition, but they have state recognition.
Cause some of them do get federal recognition eventually. I think it's a process. If they've been lingering out there for too long, I could understand that. There's a reason they didn't get federal recognition, I'd say.
Okay. We got a question here from Abba Love. I'm going to just read it as it is, but I think, Abba, you might need to reword this because it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. Do you agree with the Creek Supreme Court defining an Indian as by blood and freedman via their decision? So the Supreme Court, just to clarify for the audience and everybody, the Supreme Court's ruling said that by blood was void ab initio. So, but if you want to touch on that, I know we talked about the Friedman decision earlier in this video, so you might want to rewind there, Abba. But go ahead, sir.
I think blood quantum goes away with that decision, doesn't it? So that kind of.
Well, yeah, that's the theory. There will have to be more court cases.
We
I'm
need
sure
a lot more clarification on that.
All right, yeah, all right. So Ty Pearl has posted here. Do you support federal legislation to clarify that the Mvskoke Nation has consent authority over state or federally recognized tribes located or operating inside treaty-affirmed reservation?
So would that be the tribal towns?
Yes, I think that's what he's getting at.
I believe they were federally recognized before the tribe actually was, to be honest with you. So I think they're their own tribe, even though they are us and they are our own tribe. But I think we got to allow them to do at least some of their own government work for sure.
Okay. Oh, he's added a little bit onto that question just now. He says boundaries or ancestral homelands ceded by treaty. I think what he's asking is, would you support federal legislation that would give the Creek Nation a consent authority over any gaming or anything that happens by other federally recognized tribes or state recognized tribes within our ancestral lands and also our reservation lands in Oklahoma?
So if it pertains to the tribal towns, I think they could have their own, because in their designated areas, if they have designated areas, so I think they could have their own.
Okay. T.Y. Pearl asks, does a treaty trump federal recognition?
That is a good lawyer question that I don't have the answer for, because they're both from the federal government.
Right.
So.
Well, and let me tell you guys, let me say to the chat, you guys, let's try to hone it down on stuff that has to do with the legislature at the Creek Nation. We're asking a lot about federal laws and things that the candidates aren't going to have any say over anyway. So
this is my first time running for office. I've never got to experience the majority of the stuff.
We're at 20 minutes and we've gone through my entire list, so we're moving fast. I appreciate that. Let's see. So do you have, if you're elected, do you have any signature legislation that you plan on bringing? Do you have legislation already sitting out there in the wings or pet projects that you want to pub right at this point to say, hey, if you elect me, I'm going to bring this legislation or that legislation?
Well, the tribe beat me to the punch with the data centers and the AI stuff with the tech park. So they beat me to the punch with that. That was one of my big platform ideas. But the other one is go back to I've got 25 years gaming experience. I've got 5 years government contracting. I think I could be a big help to M&B in that government contracting space.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the program. We're wrapping a little bit early. If you guys have any questions there, go ahead and stick them into the chat, and we will ask them. We've asked so many questions and gone through. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I have in the wings that we haven't asked about.
I've got my phone number out anywhere anybody wants to call. They can. I got my email out there as well.
All right. Well, in that case, I don't see any more questions popping up, but I wanted to thank you guys for tuning in, and I wanted to thank you, Mr. Factor, for joining us today. And tomorrow on the 22nd, we have Mr. J.R. Wind at 6 p.m. And then for the schedule going out, you guys can go to our Facebook page and see all of what we have scheduled. There haven't been any updates. Oh, here's a question that's popped up.
Okay.
T.Y. Prohl is saying, are you familiar with the Rogers test to determine if someone is defined as an Indian under federal law?
I am not familiar with that.
All right. So we got that one. All right. So we squeezed one in there right at the end. I will update the schedule on Facebook, guys, if we have anybody else sign up. And then with that being said, I appreciate you guys tuning in. And Mado, Hadon,
No. Thanks for having me.
Chihit Chat, Lise.